Well, the topic of our discussion today is for the youth, by the youth, of the youth. It's time to talk about the films that attract you, the youth. And to carry on this discussion forward today, we have a Catwoman, a Barbie doll, and a bunch of fanboys. Amitabh's youngest heroine ever, Nafisa Jiah Khan. Her superpower includes being incredibly sexy and a brilliant actress. She was last seen in Houseful. Nafisa, can you please come on stage? The boy that critics loved in Udaan will now be back in a completely new avatar in iRock's crazy comedy film, Disco Valley. Welcoming on stage Rajat Barmecha. Next is the man behind the really drool-worthy pictures of today's youth icons, from Ranbir Kapoor to Sonam, and now the hot iRock calendar, Rohan Shrestha. And here we also have the Houseful 2 girl. With acting in her genes, she made her Bollywood debut opposite Ranbir Kapoor in Rocket Singh. The Barbie doll in real life, Shazahn Padamsee, is featuring in iRock's next film, Disco Valley. From advertising to films, from 30 seconds to 90 minutes, from Ragini MMS to Disco Valley, the tallest writer in Bollywood, Vaspar Dandiwala. And now, producer and CEO, iRock Films, the man behind Ragini MMS, the graphic novel Zombie Talkies, and forthcoming films like Disco Valley, Size Zero, Nangu or Pangu, and the vampire film Bloody Veer. Siddhartha Jain believes that high concept, edgy youth films is the only way to make films. So starting this panel discussion, my first question is to Siddharth. Siddharth, tell us, why does iRock focus on only youth-centric films?
Okay, why? Because I think the youth is the largest market in the country today. And 5 years ago, youth was niche. And now 60% of the country's population is under the age of 35. So logically, they're the best market to focus on. They love new stuff. They love edgy stuff. And I think we can relate to them much better than the older guys in Bollywood. So it's fun.
So would you term Ragini MMS as a youth-centric film?
Not really. I think Ragini was a film that played on the horror fans and the slightly voyeuristic audience that we have in this country. But it did attract a youth of a certain kind and type. So it was a different film. I think in our country we've got youth of different types and kinds, and the idea is to reach out to them with different films of which come in different years and market them in a very specific way.
Rajat Barmecha debuted in a serious film like Udaan. What made you cast him in your crazy comedy Disco Valley?
I think Rajat is he's quite a young cool guy, and we thought we should show the audience the cool side and the fun side of him. We saw the serious side in Udaan, and now he's just...
Okay, so Rajat, talking about your fun side, what attracted you to the film Disco Valley?
I decide which film to do by reading a script. So when I read Disco Valley script, I shouldn't yawn while reading a script. That's my basic gut feeling or basic funda to choose a film. So when I was reading Disco Valley for the first time, I really could connect to my character. I thought, yeah, this is something I've not played yet and I would love to play. So I think that's something I thought, okay, this is the film I want to do next.
Great. Um, so your leading lady Shazahn, let's ask her.
Yes.
What do you think would attract the audience to this film?
Okay, well, Disco Valley is a totally mad film. When I read the script, it kind of reminded me of, like, if I had to describe it, like Hangover meets American Pie. You know, it's really crazy, and the script is totally mad. It's very quirky, and also it's got a, I think it's going to be a cult film for the youth. That's what attracted me to Disco Valley, that it's different and it's crazy and it's young. And I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Okay, so then my next question should focus on the writer of this crazy film. Just to give you all the information, Vaspar Dandiwala is the writer of the film Disco Valley, and he believes in crazy high concept youth ideas, hence iRock. So Vaspar, tell us, what do you keep in mind? What are those ingredients which go into writing youth oriented films?
There aren't any ingredients per se, but when we start off itself, we ensure that our high concept itself is targeted to the youth. It's nice to know that who we're talking to in the first place. So the foundation itself is what gives us the idea, and then after that we take it from there. Try to be honest to the premise itself. So there are no ingredients per se. No.
There are certain, but there are, certain factors that you need to keep in mind for the youth is, how do you attract them to sampling a movie? How do you get them to be engaged in a movie? Today, youngsters are so distracted. The moment there's a slow scene in a film, they want to check their messages, and that goes with the entire Asian audience that we have. And I think the whole focus is always to make a film that's fast, that engages them by using the story, the scenes, the dialogues, and not giving them even like 5 seconds of free time or bored time in a movie, and not letting them get distracted. So I think we make sure that, and I think most writers do that, is to make sure that there is non-stop engagement. That non-stop thing with the youth is extremely important.
So talking about engagement, engaging the youth with the film, how important is sex to connect with the youth? And this is a general question. Anyone can answer that. Rohan, yeah.
My works, thank you. But I mean, honestly, sex is a taboo in India. I mean, it has been over the last few years, but people are broadening their horizons a lot, and we can use sex as a parody now. We can use it as, I mean, it can just be funny, and it's in that sense. It's just well, for me, it's just easier because I shoot sexy pictures most of the time as the calendar's being displayed over there. So I'm not the best person to answer that question.
Yeah, but I'd just like to add one thing on the sex thing. I think more than sex, it should be sexy and cool. I think it's something that people should not be ashamed of, but proud of the coolness, and who's that sexiness is important for the youth, usually, because they like these things. Though I would say older men they also like these kind of movies. Probably they see more of such films. And Nishabd, we had a nice story about an older man and a young hot girl. But yeah, I think it's important to at least have to compensate something if you're going with a high concept. Give them something that the audience will like. And as I think our country is getting, censorship is getting more relaxed, slowly, we can make films which actually reflect the reality of society. If you go into a college and see what kind of lives they lead, I don't think our films really reflect all of that accurately. And I haven't seen a Student of the Year, but I think most college films that we see are very safe children college films, but the reality is actually something else. And I think our films have an opportunity now to show the real youth in the movies. You don't agree with me?
But when you talk about films showing the real youth, you think censorship somewhere disrupts the real picture?
Yes, it does, but censorship is part of a country and it's going to get relaxed slowly. So I think we shouldn't, we have to just work around the system, and censorship is getting more reasonable and relaxed. It'll take time. We are a very closed country. We've been like that for so many decades, and it's a process. It'll happen on its own.
So Siddhartha was just talking about this country being closed, like a closed country. So I would like to ask the audience, how many people in the audience don't mind seeing nudity in a film if it's an essential part of a film? That's it?
7
Yes?
hands
Guys
only.
have their hands
We are
up.
not making films with nudity.
No, it's just a hypothetical question, right? In the
No,
West,
I think
everything
nudity
works.
is not accepted that well in our country. So I don't think we should just assume that because it's youth and they want to see nudity. I think it's just being edgy is good enough to entertain the youth. It's about entertaining and engaging. That's why we watch films in our country. And it's not about titillation. So it's just having fun with it.
Okay, so talking about entertaining and engaging, Nafiza, you're dressed up as a Catwoman today.
Your mask, Nafisa.
Okay, Catwoman. Yeah, so my question to you is, which are the various characters you would like to play that would attract the youth?
First of all, I love being Catwoman today. It's been my dream to be Catwoman. And I like strong female characters. So that's one reason why I like Catwoman, Wonder Woman, just any female character that is strong, yet positive, and yet a good role model.
Also, I think in India we still don't have female superheroes. So we have a lot of scope and potential to give power to women and show them who's the real hero. But Krish, I'm looking forward to Krish next year. And that seems to be like a very edgy film. And the earlier Krish was more catering towards a family audience. And what I hear of it, of people who are part of the film, that the new Krish is going to be more edgier, more action, and targeting more at the youth this time.
Okay, so talking about Krish and high concept films, do you think Hollywood high concept films would work in Bollywood? I mean, what do each one of you think on it? Rajat, you want to say something?
Yes, I think they are quite interesting films in Hollywood, which I think, like cinema in India is changing very slowly, but it is changing. So I think like films like What Said Makes, there's a film I just heard of, Bloody Veer. I think that is something which is close to what that, and that is the answer from our side to what we can do with those kind of concept films. So I think we should ask Sid what this one, Bloody Veer is all about, and what high concept Hollywood films they should work in India or not.
Siddharth, what's your take on this? Do you think Hollywood high concept films...
We'll ask the ladies first and then I'll answer. Shazahn, you want to say something?
Well, yeah, I think definitely because, Bollywood is changing. Gone are the days. I mean, of course, there are the big commercial films which still work till today and they're doing super well. I was just part of one. But there's also scope for a lot of high concept films. The audience is changing as well. So yeah, I think iRock is doing a fantastic job by, having these kind of films with high concepts, vampire films, and like even a film like Disco Valley. It's so different. It's so edgy. And whoever I've spoken to and whoever's heard about this film is like, wow, I really want to go and watch this film. It sounds really different. So I think the audience and everybody's ready for these kind of films. And hats off to Team iRock for, pulling it off. I'm sure all the films are going to rock and they're going to create their own space.
So Siddharth, tell us about your high concept film Bloody Veer.
No, I won't talk about a film, but my just answer to your question is more generic. Is that in Hollywood, we've seen historically that genre films work really well with the youth audiences. So whether they're genres like vampire, superhero, fantasy, zombie, or any of these genres, they really they find a lot of fan following among the youth. And now that with social media and the internet picking up in our country, and we being exposed to television, films, gaming from the West, I think India is completely primed right now to be the next youth market for genre films. And I predict that in the next 3 to 5 years, whether they are graphic novels or they are films, TV shows, games, the genres that have worked in Hollywood will really start dominating here. And it is, we are the change in Indian cinema. And we are all the people who are here actually endorse the fact. All the people who are standing here who are sort of interested in Comic-Con are here because they want to see something different. They want to see new. I've been following the comic book industry in India since many years. And this response here, the amount of people who've come here, who will come tomorrow, people who visit Comic Con in Delhi and Bangalore reflect that, if an event like this were to happen 3 years ago, there would be like just 20 people here. But this year we got like 60 stalls here. That means there are 60 companies which are actually making merchandise or content targeting the youth. And genre is very important. And I can see so much of genre work here. And I think we are completely primed to take the next leap in changing, and not only cinema. I think any form of content that youth consume is going to be either star-led or it's going to be high concept-driven stuff.
No, I think it's also important that when we say it, will Hollywood concepts, high concepts work in Bollywood? Genre films, yes, but at the same time we need to make sure that they're as Indian as possible. They can't be just, a complete lift from here, and we'll be caught with that. We need to make sure that it's as original as possible and as clear as possible in that sense.
Okay, Siddharth just mentioned any content that attracts the youth, not only film. So tell us about the iRock calendar. Vaspar, what was the concept behind the calendar? Another high concept?
The calendar was really just a lot of fun between movies. Sid said, let's make a swimsuit calendar, and we said that there's so many swimsuit calendars out there, let's do something different, let's have some fun. So we're iRock, we're Bollywood. How else?
So I just want to add that actually I saw Vijay Malia's calendar and thought it was damn boring. It was like a middle-aged calendar. And I thought, why are these girls just lying on a piece of stone or sand or near the water? And I thought, okay, he's 60 years old, I'm not. And so let's make something that's funny, that's filmy, and that at least has a story. And each image should sort of, entertain us on its own. Now Aspar can continue.
I'm good.
I think it's pretty much done with that.
Okay, I think the next question should be Rohan. You're the one who shot the calendar, right? So tell us your experience of shooting this calendar.
Also, Rohan is the guy who shoots all youth stars, and right from Ranbir Kapoor to Ranveer Singh to Sonam, etc., etc. So we'd also like to know how you shoot all these girls and how much fun do you have with them.
Well, honestly, it's easier for me to shoot youth-centric, and because that's kind of who I am as a person as well. I'm kind of younger than most other photographers in the country today, which is an advantage. I can relate to the actors and actresses who are of my age group. And speaking of the calendar, it's not very hard to shoot 4 girls in bikinis, especially when they're all Brazilian models. And Sid and Vaspa were basically just behind me, pretty much directing the girls as well. So, it was an experience in itself. Sexy girls, it's not really hard to shoot. Like I said, the concepts were crazy, it was hilarious. When they first pitched it to me, I was like, what, are you serious? Like, how are we going to pull this off? How are we going to pull off film posters and, make it so real? And I think these guys have done a fabulous job.
But Rohan, I've heard that for one of the pictures, the girls posed topless. So how did you manage that?
Oh, that picture hasn't actually been used.
Yeah, it's not used, but you did click it, right? Everyone was thrown out and you were the only one inside.
Yeah, well, see, you don't want an audience when you're shooting topless women, so these two were the only other guys there.
See, 7 guys put up their hands. They wanted to see nudity. So at least for those 7 guys, you should show us something. Can we see something? Do you have something for us?
No, Rohan, nothing?
No chance.
Anyways, I think people who want to see the calendar, have a glimpse, pick it up, can go to the iRock stall for sure.
Yeah, but just, on a larger note, I'll say that, I think, as a photographer and as Vaspar, these guys are working on the creative. It's difficult to get girls who are not from our country, who don't understand English also, to actually show emotion and tell them how to pose and, in a movie kind of a tone, which is a Bollywood film.
Yeah,
so I think
it was a task trying to explain Amir Khan and Salman Khan to girls in Portuguese.
Yeah, because we got some girls to pose like, give Salman's attitude in Dabang or give Amir's attitude in Gajni. And explaining that to women was tough. So actually Vaspar and Rohan posed as Salman and Amir and showed that.
Vaspar, you've already told us the key ingredients which goes into writing youth-oriented films. And I believe your next film, Nangu or Pangu, funny name. So who's your inspiration behind Nangu or Pangu?
Nangur Pangu is basically about the guy who invented marriage. And funnily enough, we were sitting with Sid and we were thinking up ideas when that came up. I hate to admit it, but I think the source really was this film called Action Replay. There was a song that played. I don't remember the song, but
How marriage was invented.
yeah. So the lyrics were basically about cursing the guy who invented marriage. And hey, it just came about, and we decided to set the film in 4000 BC or so around that. And Nangur Pangu title came from Sid himself. So yeah. So the inspiration was the song.
Tell us more about the sketching contest which iRock has announced based on these characters.
Yeah, so we're looking to make this also as a comic strip. It'd be great if we can, in the Adam and Eve space, in the as much fun as we can have, where we can create our own characters, our own real Indian characters, way before the Mohenjo-daro period. And Nangu being the guy, he's a young inventor, and Pangu being the girl who's the young huntress. And yeah, love and hate. It'd be great if someone could do something about that around here.
Okay, so any questions from the audience?
Well, I'm a film student, and I mean, how does your idea of writing for cinema, or how does your idea for writing for films or directing a film change when if you are a student of cinema and then you go out and then you go into the field? How does it change? How does it affect you, and how do you retain yourself?
No, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I completely understand. Retain myself in what sense?
Like how do you retain your sense of self? Like if a certain kind of movie is popular, then people would expect you to write a script that would follow that popularity. So how do you retain your originality and also kind of be the next thing or be the thing?
Well, I haven't gotten that popular, but I'll be honest. Writing itself makes you feel really honest when you're writing. I mean, when you sit down and write, you're not thinking about all these other things. You're thinking about your idea. You're thinking about what you want to say. Thinking about what you want to tell the world, and the pressure's on you to be as different as possible from the last time. And of course, with a lot of support, a lot of people pegging on you and pushing you forward. And hey, this can be done as well. So from Ragini MMS to Disco Valley. Horror film and now a completely rave party comedy. Yeah, it's a big jump. And now Nangur Pangu 4000 BC. So yeah, the pressure's there, but as honest as possible. That's what's important.
But then what about the target audiences? What about the target audiences? How does the producer react to something that is completely original? And
like I've worked with about 40-50 writers in the last 10 years. And I think the key to that is finding the right writer for the right story. So there are some writers who can only write stories that they think of. There are some writers, if you give them a story, they write the screenplay really well, or they get into their story. So it's all about, I think, it's like, every tailor is different, like every chef is different, and every chef makes a different dal. And some chef, they cook their own food, their own signature dishes. So it's very difficult to actually, not all writers can write somebody else's story, but some writers can only write what they feel. So your question is, how does a writer deal with it? I think more than the writer, I think it's the responsibility of the director and the producer to make sure that we give the writer a story that he can write. So like what we do in iRock is at least I try that, all the writers who work with us and, we try and find them something that they love and then they make it their story, keeping in mind the parameters that we have for the audiences. So it's very personal, there's no generic rule of how do you deal with it. And not everybody is able to deal with it actually.
Hi, this is to Mr. Siddhartha Jain. Could you explain what high concept films are? Because since it's a new thing here, so could you explain this to us?
Okay, so I'll try.
Okay.
So for me, as an audience and as a person, high concept is something which is the main hook of the film, which is the main marketing hook of the film. So for example, when I go and see a film like Bodyguard, for me the hook is Salman Khan. I'm not seeing the film for the story or the concept. I'm going in because I'm a fan of Salman. I'm going to see his film. So in a high concept film, we are assuming there are no big film stars. So the hook of the film is not the actor, but the story. And that story should be that strong enough as a concept, which should push me to buy a ticket on Thursday for the opening Friday. So if that can happen, then I call that high concept. So for example, for Student of the Year, my high concept is Karan Johar. So similarly, so we tried the experiment, like in Ragini MMS, it was all unknown talent. So we used the concept of the film as the hook. So high concept is that. It's something that we compensate for the lack of stars, which is the story.
So how is this different from genre films, or is it the same?
Same,
thing?
it's the same. So genre films are high concept films.
I mean, the technical term really, if you look it up, is more like a film which you can explain in a log line, around 3 to 4 lines, which explains your basic first act, second act, and it's just a big enough hook for people to be. When you're going to pitch your script, that's what you say first. So that's your high concept.
On that note, I would like to thank each one of you present here who have spent time and have come and graced this occasion. And we would like to gift each one of you an iRock calendar. Siddharth, would you do the honors? And I must thank the audience for all your patience. Thank you so much.